And we're just so excited to have you with us this evening and to chat with you. So thank you so much for joining us. We just wanted to start off with an overview of our topics for this evening's call. So what we are going to cover is why you should volunteer with Junior Giants, what Junior Giants provides during the season, a season preview of kind of what the Junior Giant season is going to look like, and some coaching basics and best practices. And then we also have some special guests joining us from Positive Coaching Alliance, RISE, and a special appearance at the end of the call from San Francisco Giants Coach Alyssa Nakken. All right, on the next slide, we just wanted to start out with a big giant thank you. For everyone joining us today, we just want to say thank you so much for helping to bring Junior Giants to life in your community. This program would truly not exist without you. We make all the plans in the office, but for all of those kids on the field in your community, they may never meet us, but you are really the face of Junior Giants to them. So thank you so much for spending your nights and weekends and summer with us, just to make this possible for the Junior Giants players in your communities. All right. And so you really do make this program possible. So just one volunteer can make it possible to have an entire team of 15 Junior Giants players who can play baseball and softball for free this summer. And you can really make a lasting impact in their lives. So kind of just think back on your childhood and your experience growing up and the most meaningful coach or teacher or mentor that you had, and you can really be that person to your team this summer. Which is huge, right? So we're just very grateful for your support and your participation. And thank you so much. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Bailey, who is going to cover what Junior Giants provides.
Hi, everyone. I am Bailey Rodriguez. I'm the program manager for the Giants Community Fund. And this is what Junior Giants provides and what kind of sets it apart from some other youth sports programs. So we provide a word of the week pack or a wow pack for coaches. So you would receive one wow pack every week for the 8-week season, and it has everything that you need for that week inside of it. One of the things inside your wow pack is your practice plan. So we provide skills and drills as well as conversation topics for you to have conversations with your team about the word of the week. And so those are broken down by different age divisions, whether you're working with the T-ballers all the way up to the majors or seniors players. We also provide a lot of fun incentives for players. So a water bottle for everyone at the start of the season, a different baseball card that they get to collect every week, a Camilo Doval bobblehead at the end of the season, and then a special prize for completing the Round the Bases reading program. So as you might know, Junior Giants is so much more than just baseball and softball. And the kids are learning lots of important topics and words of the week. And one of those is, part of that is reading and education. So then we provide a season roadmap for the families to follow along with to be able to participate in all the different words of the week throughout the season. And then we also have an amazing scholarship opportunity for incoming 8th graders where they can receive a $10,000 college scholarship, which is amazing. We choose 10 every single year. We also, of course, have opportunities for Giants tickets. So if you like going to Giants games, that is available for coaches and for players. And then we have the Junior Giants app, which is our specific app that we've created all for the Junior Giants program. So going on to the next slide, we have, this is a QR code that's going to take you directly to the practice plans within the Junior Giants app. So this just shows an example. You'll receive a printed copy, but then you can also find them anytime on the Junior Giants app. And you can see examples of the word of the week talk, the skills and drills, what you're going to be covering with your team each week. And just wanted to highlight this one more time. If you couldn't tell, it's important. So you can scan these QR codes. This will take you to the practice plans, as well as the Junior Giants app itself to download either on Apple or Android. And you can always just search your phone's app store for Junior Giants app, and it will come up that way as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Kaylee.
Bailey. All right. Something that we really wanted to highlight is that Junior Giants is really more than just baseball and softball. We really try to take this time with our Junior Giants to teach them important lessons that they will take kind of far beyond the field and into their lives. So on the screen here, you will see a look at our season preview. So our season runs from June 10th, so starting next week, until August 3rd. And this is for the majority of our leagues. We have 86 leagues across California, a little bit into Nevada and Oregon. So there are some variations with this timing, but for the most part, all of our leagues run June 10th through August 3rd. So the first week, we are going to focus on an introduction to junior giants. So in the practice plans that you'll receive, you'll see things that we want you to talk with your players about. So just introducing them to the program, telling them what they're going to focus on and learn this summer. And then in week 2, we move on to health. So in health week, we focus on healthy eating, nutrition, how to fuel our bodies, and just make sure that we can all be the best players we can be on the field and also in life. In week 3, we move on to strike out bullying. So we focus on what our communities would look like if they were free of bullying, and each player participates in an art contest during this week. In week 4, we focus on education and specifically reading. So we really want to make sure that our Junior Giants players are continuing to read throughout the summer and really just not losing those important skills that they learned during the school year, and just making sure that they're keeping those skills throughout the summer and just making sure that they're taking that into their next grade level. And then in weeks 5 through 8, we focus on what we call our 4 bases of character development, which is really the heart of Junior Giants and what we focus on. And those are confidence, teamwork, leadership, and integrity. So these are all just things we're trying to build and teach our players throughout the season. You will have your word of the week talks in your practice plans to help you kind of emphasize these components. And most coaches will do that at their practices initially, and then just re-emphasize what the word of the week is during their game days as well. All right, so with that, I will pass it over to my colleague Nicole to cover some basics of Junior Giants coaching and volunteering.
Thanks, Kaylee. Hi, everyone. It's really great to see everyone tonight. I'm Nicole Cacciatorian. I'm our program director for the Giants Community Fund, and I'm also a fellow Junior Giants coach. My 6-year-old daughter plays t-ball in San Mateo, so I'm coaching her team there. So we want to focus on some of the basics that us as coaches are going to be focusing on this season. So some of the basic expectations that we have are to try to please be on time and be consistent. We're so thankful that you volunteered for this role, and we know how important it is. So thank you. But if we can also do our best to be on time, be consistent, and then show up with a positive attitude. Junior Giants is non-competitive, so we really are focusing more on the life skills that these players can take off the field rather than, creating the next major league player. So please make sure we're cheering for all kids, encouraging them, and just really trying to make sure that we are instilling a love of the game in them and that they're getting physical activity and a positive environment when they're out there. Some other basics that we wanted to cover. We have a coach certification process that we would love if all of our coaches go through. Some of these steps are required regardless if you choose to go through this coach certification process. But the first and most important one we have is obviously you have to register to be a coach and pass a background check. That's the first step. And we want to make sure obviously all of our players are safe out on the fields. Next, we also ask that you complete Junior Giants University. There's a specific course that's called Volunteers 101 that's available on the Junior Giants app. So when you log on to the app, you have to log in with the same email address that you registered with. It will prompt you to go through these steps. So it'll prompt you to take Volunteer 101, and it will go over some of the basics of Junior Giants. It will also prompt you to take our abuse awareness course. And then we ask locally that you also attend your local league's volunteer meeting and coaches clinic. So on this call, we represent over 90 different Junior Giants leagues across California, also a little bit into Nevada and Oregon as well. So in each of your individual leagues, your organization will host their own volunteer meeting and coaches clinic so that you'll be able to kind of make contact with your specific league at the local level. And we also wanted to cover our Willie Mack Award. Some of you might be familiar with the Giants version of this, but we have our Junior Giants version of the Willie Mack Award. And that goes to one outstanding Junior Giants player and volunteer each season that best exemplifies our 4 bases of character development. So it's someone that's chosen by the league, each city that you're in or each league that you're in. One winner comes from each. So one one volunteer winner and one player winner. And those people are recognized at Oracle Park during a Giants game. And then they're also invited to a special luncheon at the end of the season to receive an engraved personalized bat as their award and thank you. So you might be eligible for this award, but also if you have an outstanding player on your team that you want to nominate, you can always reach out to your commissioner and tell them that you've identified someone that you feel like would be worthy of the Willie Mack Award. Okay, so now it's time to bring in our first speaker. We've had a long relationship with Positive Coaching Alliance, and we're really thankful that they're here today on the call. PCA is a national nonprofit with a mission to change the culture of youth sports so that every child, regardless of their social or economic circumstances, have access to positive youth sports. PCA was founded in 1998, and they've impacted over 20 million youth, sometimes directly with youth themselves, but most often through coaches like you. So talking through coaches that are making that impact at the local level. And our trainer here today with us is Aaron Weintraub. He's been a certified trainer with PCA since 2012. He also coached baseball at the University of Virginia for a long time. So we have another baseball guy on the call with us. He has authored several books as well and articles, including leadership training for softball. And he's also a husband and father of 5. So we're thankful to have Aaron with us today. So Aaron, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, coaches, for being here. Appreciate your time. It is very valuable. And at some point, these young people are going to take a leap in confidence or maturity that's a result of somebody outside of their immediate family. And it might be somebody at school or somebody at church, but I think there's a pretty good chance it's going to be their coach on the diamond. And what you're doing, just they'll forget to say thank you, but thank you so much for volunteering your time and your talents on their behalf. We're going to talk with PCA today about developing competitors through positive coaching. And I'm curious if you would go to the chat, and when you're trying to chat to everyone, make sure it does say to everyone, and just put yes and a number if you've been to a PCA workshop before. So my question is, have you ever been to a PCA workshop before? And if it's no, don't put anything in the chat, because I think we're going to have a lot of those. But if it is a yes, then I would love to see, you put your name in there and maybe a number next to it for how many. So we do definitely, Liliana, more than 10. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to call on you when I stumble, Liliana. Okay, for those of you that it's the first time with PCA, I want to share a little bit about us and our principles. We've been around since 1998, and we are guided by the science of sports psychology, which I like to define as the study of what successful athletes do. It's also about figuring out how to be the best version of ourselves more consistently and more often. We're also guided by our National Advisory Board. I'm going to put a link to that full list into the chat. But there's a lot of famous coaches, athletes, and maybe a little less famous sports psychologists, although Carol Dweck's pretty famous, maybe not quite as famous as all the baseball players on our advisory board. But we are guided by science and 25 years of experience. And so, and then Nicole already read our mission, so thanks for that. We'd like to start with your why. And sometimes, I live in Southern California. I don't know, in Northern California, maybe not as much, but down here, sometimes coaches on the sidelines act the fool and end up on social media. And I think when they do that, they forget their why. I think they're caught up in the emotions of the moment. Those emotions are probably driven by an over focus on the scoreboard. And I think if we can start with our why and remember in our consciousness at some level, why do you coach, and why do you coach the way that you coach, and what would your athletes say about the way you coach? I think that can help us keep our head in those moments that could otherwise create some emotional response that would warrant an apology later. Now, you don't have to apologize for making a mistake because we're human, but you know what I'm talking about with those inappropriate behaviors in the third base coaching box. Normally, I would like to take more time, but I also want to share with you that this is a 2-hour workshop that I am delivering to you in 20 minutes. And so it is a condensed version, but I would love for you right now to type into the chat, why do you coach? And it certainly might be because your spouse or your son told you to, the league begged you to, but I think it's probably also because you have a passion for the game or you want to teach life lessons through the vehicle of baseball and softball. And so I love it when you think about that. And there we go, to guide younger generations, love of baseball and youth. So both, thanks, Carlos, to spend time with your kids, their friends, and give people the opportunity. Great. Okay, yes, that's exactly the type of answers I'm looking for. The next question, why do you coach the way that you coach? Well, I think we all coach the way we were coached, repeating the things we liked and changing the things that we don't like. And I love what the Giants are doing here is just adding to that and putting some additional tools in your toolbox by bringing Rise in and PCA and the resources that they're sending out every week to you. I think that just adds to the equation of repeat what works, change what you didn't like. And if you're willing to do a little research, read the materials that come your way, and you're on this call. So, I mean, fantastic. Finally, what would your athletes say about the way that you coach? Well, that's a tough question unless you've coached for a while and had the opportunity to ask them at the end of the season. But I do think it's useful to think about what you want them to say and then maybe check in from time to time, especially if you're coaching your own child, which nowadays most of us do. It's very difficult to reach the goal of treating your own child the same as every other player on the team. So once in a while, it's a great idea if you check in with your other coaches and just give each other feedback on that particular goal. And if it's not going well, some coaches are too hard on their own son, some coaches are too hard on their own daughter, or vice versa. They bat them third and put them at shortstop every game, even, because they want to. If anything like that is going on, you can leave the coaching of your own child up to the other coaches on your team, and just, that's a strategy that can work well as well. But try to wear two hats, either be a parent or be a coach, but not both at the same time. Okay, so starting with our why is great. And our model of coaching says, we want to develop competitors. We're very competitive at PCA. Even though it's not a competitive league, the kids are going to keep score. And, it's great to teach them how to compete effectively. But it's not a win at all cost thing. And life skills is, they're equal in size. But if you ever have to choose one or the other, we hope you'll choose life skills as the more important goal in the short term. But in the long run, you don't have to choose. And teaching competitors and life skills is one goal that happens through positive coaching. If we achieve this, we create a culture where athletes make themselves, their teammates, and the game better. The program is creating an environment where retention and engagement are high for coaches and for parents. And we want to get a partnership with the parents. That can be tough. Some parents, it's really easy, but others, they can detract from the team culture. So I encourage you to have a preseason parents meeting where you talk about who's bringing snacks, because that's critical, but you also talk about your expectations for parents and how you understand that they know their kids better than you do, and you would like to keep those communication lines open and have that partnership with them. If we do a good job, kids are going to feel safe, seen, heard, and valued because we coach with empathy and we use tools in our toolbox that make this a fun experience for everyone, not just the best players on the team and not just the team that wins. But if we do this right, we really can create an environment where everybody's having a positive experience. Okay. I think everyone got muted, so we're good. 3 principles of positive coaching for us from PCA are here on the screen, and I do want to go through them. Again, I'm going to go through them very quickly. And they're all built on the foundation of trusting relationships. And that relationship, every kid wants it. They show it in different ways. They reward it in different ways. Some don't seem to reward it at all. But it really is the connection that the players feel with each other and with their coaches that make the biggest difference in their motivation and retention and the experience they have on the field. The Elm Tree of Mastery is our first principle of positive coaching, and it really has to do with what can you control and what can you not control. In baseball and softball, there's so many things that can go through a competitor's head, consciousness during competition. I want to get strikes and outs if I'm the pitcher. I want to get a base hit and an RBI if I'm the hitter. I want to win the game. These are all outside of our control. And when we can teach the behavior of other people, umpires, coaches, teammates, opponents, all outside of my control, all easy for me to think about, worry about, and get distracted by. So we want to teach athletes to control the controllables, which is their attitude, their effort, their approach. And so for the pitcher, throw the ball aggressively through the target. For the hitter, get a good pitch to hit and hit it hard. Usually, if they're 10 or younger, that just means swing at the strikes. So many kids are so caught up in the competitiveness of it that they don't swing the bat as often as they could. And I love the phrase, you can't walk off the island. I'm curious if anyone knows that phrase, you can't walk off the island. It refers to a specific island. If you know what island I'm talking about, please put it in the chat. While you're doing that, I'll get back to this elm tree of mastery because it really has to do with how do you define success. The default definition is the scoreboard, where we have a win-at-all-cost mentality, not Alcatraz, and kids are focused on results, comparisons to others, and their body language reflects the idea that mistakes are bad. That's the normal. Yes, it is the Dominican Republic. Very good, Ben. We want to shift their focus away from results and to effort. We want to stop comparing to others and instead compare to self, which is learning. And if you're going to pursue mastery, you have to get outside of your familiar zone. And in this space, mistakes are going to happen. When we're outside of our comfort zone, yes, and baseball, softball, they're great. There's lots of mistakes. So let's keep our positive attitude through the adversity of the game and the challenges it presents, because mistakes help you grow. Now, this makes sense to you and I, but let's go back to those kids in the Dominican Republic or in San Francisco or wherever you're at and think about mistakes help you grow. Why do they not swing the bat at strikes? Well, the reality is if they walk, it's going to help their team score more runs. And there's a pretty good chance they're going to get a walk. But you can't hit off the island does refer to the Dominican Republic. And here's why. There's a lot of kids that play baseball there, and they would love to play in the United States, but it's an island. So you can't walk from there to here. You have to get a plane ticket. And those kids' best chance of getting that is to get a contract from a major league club. And they're not going to get that if they're good at walking. They're going to get that if they're good at hitting. Well, if they want to play beyond Little League, then swing the bat at strikes. All right, so there's our elm tree of mastery. It reminds us how to control the controllables and shift that mindset from a scoreboard mentality to a mastery mentality. Our toolkit here is the reward effort. When you see a screen like this, I'm going to go fast. So I encourage you to take a screenshot. Reward effort, feed forward is different than feedback. So talk about what you want to see next and use a mistake ritual to let go of the past. Maybe it's that, or I like to grab dirt and go, dang it, but nobody's perfect. Our second principle is filling emotional tanks. It's based on this quote from Maya Angelou. She said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So we want to start with leading by example with our attitudes, right? John Wooden said it's not all the books on all the shelves, it's what the teachers are themselves. He also had a controllable definition of success, the peace of mind that comes from knowing you did your best. And these things all go together to create a culture on your team where kids are having fun. And so we encourage you to fill their emotional fuel tank with truthful and specific praise. Instead of saying good job, saying good job moving your feet and getting in front of that ground ball. Most of the things on this list make sense. It's another good time for a screenshot, but I want to mention that correction is typically a tank drainer. But if you do a great job of building that trusting relationship and they trust that the reason you're giving a correction is because you're optimistic that they can be even better than they are right now, then it can become a tank filler. Or it can drain their tank less. So build that relationship, communicate in a positive way, and even correction can still be perhaps a tank filler. Nonverbals count here. This magic ratio is scary, but we want to create an environment where they're getting 5 tank filling communications for every 1 tank draining communication in their experience on the team. So that doesn't mean before you coach them up, you have to tell them 5 things they're doing good. It means you want to create an environment where from teammates, parents, because that car ride home can be tough on some kids. So get the parents on board with this 5-to-1 ratio. Coaches, assistant coaches, head coaches, nonverbals. We want their tank filled 5 times for every tank drainer. And just because you all are there and Steve Kerr is one of our National Advisory Board member, I wanted to play a portion of this clip to say this positive coaching stuff, this applies at every level. And this guy he's coaching, I mean, he's a pretty good shooter. So if he needs his coach to help build him up, I think we all can use a coach that's a tank filling coach.
Nobody in the league does that. You have so much confidence in yourself, and within games like this, you turn it around like that. It's awesome, amazing. Wish I had your confidence. What are you laughing about? Your hook? I like it. I think you get to that eventually, but right now we need a little rhythm. What would you do right now if you were me? If you were me, what would you guys do if you were me? It's all about the defense. You guys are suffocating, suffocating. They can't score on us if you maintain that energy level.
And I see in the question about constructive criticism. Yes, that's what I mean by correction. I just prefer the word, we prefer the word correction to criticism, but it's the exact same thing. We just like to frame things as positively as possible. So our toolkit for filling the emotional tanks, well, the Elm Tree of Mastery helps with that too. But strive for the magic ratio. A player of the day is an exercise for coaches. Take the kid that's the toughest to coach. And for just one day, make it a goal for you and your coaching staff to catch them doing things right. So if he hustles halfway to first, don't tell him, hey, don't slow down before you get to first. Say, hey, that was great hustle out of the box. Just celebrate for one day, just give that kid 100-0 tank fillers and see if it makes a difference for the one that tends to be your least excited about coaching that particular child. Winner's circle is where you have the players fill each other's tank, go around the circle and have them say one thing about their teammate that they like, something good they saw. There's different ways to do it, but that's a great way to recruit them to fill each other's emotional fuel tanks. Our third principle is honoring the game, and it really has to do with respect, treating self and others with dignity. Now, I'm flying through this material, and I appreciate your focus through this. I don't like to lecture, but I feel like it is. But we're flying through this. What are some challenges with this? I would love it if you put them in the chat, but there's a lot. And notice we really emphasize not only treating others respectfully, but also ourselves. And that can be the hardest one for a lot of kids. And you're going to get all kinds of responses to your great coaching. Sometimes it's not going to have the impact you want, the way you want it. Keep trying, stay persistent, stay creative, recruit allies to try to get through to that stubborn kid, and look for ways to give them ownership, look for ways to make it fun, and see if you can't get leadership out of them to start treating themselves and others with more dignity. We have one more acronym here for you. It's honoring the game by respecting the roots of the game. And so roots stands for rules, opponents, officials, teammates, and self. And it really is what we want to model and teach. So when the umpire misses a call and it goes against your team, remember the answer to the question, why is this good? I'm not saying it's not bad, but it's also good because, I don't know, Nietzsche said the bad stuff's good for us as long as we don't die. And we're not going to die because they made a bad call. So remember, it's good because we get to practice dealing with adversity and we get to model an appropriate response when life's not fair. Our honoring the game toolkit, if you need it, a self-control routine is great. Turn your back, take a deep breath, think about your why. Seek out those teachable moments. Talk about how this lesson on the field also applies off the field, and use that preseason meeting with players and the preseason meeting with coaches to set the stage with expectations and your culture. All right, so I'm about out of time here, But I just want to throw out one more thought, which is it's all built on relationships. So think about who is your favorite coach and how did they get to that status? What did they do to connect with you and your teammates? Because if there's a secret to being a great coach, according to Dawn Staley, who now has 3 national championships, not 2, that's it. It's the connection. The better relationship we have, the better she's going to perform and the better we're going to be as a team. He's saying, John Madden, Coach Madden saying the same thing, but this is what we get if we have trusting relationships. Ultimately, better performance, but all the other stuff on top of that may be even more important. So coach with empathy, give them ownership when it's appropriate. Don't let the 7-year-olds choose what's going to happen. But if you know you're going to condition, you can ask them, do you want to do relay races or do you want to run a home run? Or right, there's ways you can give them voice and choice in what's going on out there. And so take advantage of those and reflect on your own interactions. Did I miss an opportunity? Is there a conversation I should have before the game tomorrow? All right, that's coaching with empathy. I am done. There were a couple other slides here, but this has been a lot of information. I hope it's been useful for you. If you have, I'm going to put a link into the chat. And if you have feedback on the PCA portion, it's just about a 60-second feedback form. You can use that. If you don't do it, it's totally fine. But we always like to learn from our experiences. And so you can use that link if you like. Back to Nicole, and you all have a great rest of this workshop.
Erin, thank you so much. That was full of a lot of helpful information. I know I was taking notes on the side for when I'm with my team on Monday about filling their emotional tanks and about like really giving the specific feedback. I thought that was really valuable. So thank you so much. Next, we have our next guest speaker who's here with us from RISE. We have Dr. Nancy Kaplan. She's a longtime educator, a community advocate, and a proponent of social justice. And she's spent her career in higher education at St. John's University and most currently as their associate provost. She's also a leader, a committed leader in her community and serves on several educational boards. And we're very thankful to have her here with us today. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Nancy Kaplan.
Thank you so much. And I am really, really happy to be with all of you tonight. I always love the opportunity to speak with coaches who really get to influence young people. And I think what I want to do is really follow up on what Aaron said in terms of thanking you. If you can only try to envision the impact that you have on children, I think you would be really feeling that gratitude. And so I just want to express how grateful I am for you being a person that coaches young people. I come from a background in sports. I was a college basketball player at St. John's. That's how I got there. I have 2 children that played sports all the way through high school. And I really believe, and what we believe at RISE, is that sports really has power in bringing people together. And so I want to go ahead and really share my screen and just tell you a little bit about RISE and what we do. And then we're going to take a look at an activity that we often do with participants, but we are a national nonprofit that educates and empowers the sports community to eliminate racial discrimination, champion social justice, and improve race relations. And the way that we do that is by having conversations with anybody within sports that wants to use the very essence of what it means to be part of a team to bring people together. And so we've been having these conversations. I've been lucky enough to work with NFL teams and college teams and youth coaches. And I find that every conversation that I'm a part of, I also learn something from you. So I will definitely be inviting you to share as we go along. Ordinarily, we love to have people with cameras on. I would certainly invite you to share your pronouns just so that this is an inclusive space if you would like to do that. I don't think we have to worry about too much here with someone saying something and what someone says being taken out past the boundaries of this environment, because context around these discussions and what people share is certainly very important. And I would love it if you want to share, just go ahead and turn on your mic, or we're certainly going to be able to use the chat as well. So the purpose of really this module that we do, diversity concepts, is really to come to an understanding of terminology. So the first thing that I want to ask you is, why do you think we feel it's important to be talking about diversity? And you can drop it into the chat, you can turn on your mic, like I said, but I would just love some feedback on why you think this is an important topic. And I will tell you, I've been known just to call on people. So if I see a friendly face, and I thank you for
We
that,
don't want
I might
anyone to
just
feel
call
excluded.
on you. Oh, okay. I mean, you can, if you can unmute yourself, if not, you can drop it into the chat why you think this is an important topic. But I think you might be able to unmute if you want to share. So I see for full inclusion of everyone, absolutely, because we learn from each other is so important. Thank you for that. No one should feel excluded, absolutely. Inclusion and acceptance, we're part of a multicultural society. We live in a very, very diverse world, right? I love this one. Everyone has a voice and say, and we want children to be able to know that they have voice and a say, because like Aaron said, when they feel seen and when they feel heard, they start to take ownership, right? And that makes them feel valued. I like all of these. All are equal and have opportunities. Engaging in diverse environments helps us learn from each other. Absolutely. This, Elizabeth, so important to prevent hate towards certain people based on how they look or where they come from. Yes, these are all really, really wonderful responses. So, you know, what we like to share about why we talk about diversity is because what we know is that diversity is a constant in life. We are all different. Think about even your own families, or for those of you who are parents of multiple children, just how different your children might be from one another. So when we show up to participate in sports, or when we go into our first workplace, or when we're in, class or in college, we are all different. And so, like I say to the people in my community who sometimes question, like, why are we so focused on diversity? What I really say is it if we are providing our children with an education that is helping them to be successful, we should be helping them to be able to motivate and inspire and connect with people from all backgrounds. And so, that's why we talk about this topic. Some parents may push back and say, children don't see the difference in one another. Well, that factually is incorrect, because the research shows that children as young as 3 years old are able to recognize the differences. And so the idea for us as coaches is to be able to validate everyone so that everyone feels respected for all of the ways that they're different and in all of the ways they may show up to our teams. We certainly feel that as coaches, especially of children, we have a responsibility to really foster holistic development of players. It really, when you're coaching children, it really is about so much more than teaching them the skills of the game. It's helping them to grow into confident people that know how to operate with others in a way that is productive. And your role in teaching that is really very, very critical. Research shows also, and Aaron just spoke to it as well, the more we feel respected and valued, the greater sense of belonging we have, and the more achievement we will have, right? So if I'm happy when I show up to my team, or I'm happy when I show up to my workplace and I feel valued and respected, I'm free. My mind is free to focus on what I'm trying to do, as opposed to worrying about who doesn't like me or wondering if I'm going to fit in. So this creating a sense of belonging is important because it's directly connected to levels of success. So in this module, what we like to do is we like to define different terms. Now, ordinarily, what we would do is we would give participants about 10 minutes to pair up with another person to really talk about a number of terms. For the purpose of this session, we're going to talk about these three, but we're going to do this as a group. So what I'd like you to do is drop into the chat what you think a definition of identity is. How would you define that word, identity? I'll give you a second to think about it. And we all have identities, right? Many of them, I'm thinking. So self-perception, how someone views themselves. Thank you for that. Words you can use to describe who you are. Exactly right. If we were going to do this in a full module, I would ask you what some of those words are to describe yourself. For me, I would say I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm an educator. I would say I'm white, I'm an athlete, I'm a caring person, an empathetic person. Those are all parts of my identity. Who I am, it's who you are, absolutely. How the person feels and sees themselves. You're all on point. The way we define identity is by simply saying it's the fact of being who or what a person or thing is. And as you pointed out, it is often linked to how we feel about ourselves. And when you think about it, our identities change over time. I'm not the same person that I was when I was a little girl playing sports. My identity changed when I was a college basketball player. It certainly changed when I became a wife and a mother. And it's changing even now as my children are getting older. And what my hope is that no matter how my identity changes, that I am around people that not only accept me for who I am, but they value who I am. Now, one of the most important things that you can do as a coach for children is you can model acceptance of everyone, and you can model actually going on being accepting and showing what respect looks like in action. So let me ask you, drop into the chat what respect looks like. How would you maybe identify something that's happening on your team that demonstrates respectful behavior? Drop something into the chat that defines that for you. What does respect look like? A handshake, absolutely. Sportsmanship, for sure. Being courteous, absolutely. And being kind, definitely. Happy to see everyone, right? Meaning that there's not somebody on the team that's left out, right? You want to include everyone. I like this one, cheering. And I just want to find out where that cheering and encouraging each other, very important, no matter who you are. And maybe doing that really when someone maybe has not made the right play or has maybe made an error, right? Building them up, lifting them up is really, really important. So let me ask you this. How would you define the word diversity? Drop that into the chat for me. I know why we talk about it, but how would you define that word, diversity? As inclusion, okay. Wholeness. What else? So many people today have very strong opinions about that word, diversity. Being different, but accepted and included, equitable. Okay, diversity is a set of skills and culture you bring to a group. That's great. No indifference. Okay, these are all a piece of a quilt. I really love that. I'm a visual person, so I can definitely, see that. One of the things that we like to say is that, diversity is so much more than what people see on the outside. And very often what we do, sadly, is we look at someone on the outside and we decide whether or not we want to be friends with that person, just based on what we see. Very often, if we see someone who looks like us, it's a sense of comfort, there's a connection, we feel like we can be friends. But when we start to look beyond what we see on the outside, that's where we find that we have things in common, whether it's skills or expertise, our hobbies, our abilities. So we have experiential diversity in addition to demographic, and then we have cognitive diversity as well, how we go about solving different problems. And one of the things that we can do as coaches is we can encourage children to look beyond that surface, right? And to really get to know each other on a deeper level. And I bet you would find that even if you had a simple conversation with children that we're going to provide with you in the toolkit, they would find they have lots of connections with each other. So last question, how would you define the word inclusion? I know that's the goal, but how would you actually define that word? Inclusion. Acceptance, okay. Thank you for that, Trinity. What else? Inclusion. Don't judge anyone for how they look. I love that. Everyone should feel like they belong. That is the goal, right? Acknowledging differences and making room to include everyone. So you know what? That's a great response, Laura. And I want to sort of pick up on that just for a moment. If we really want to be inclusive, we have to first start with the mindset of wanting to be, but then behaviorally really doing things that show we want that mindset to become a reality. So a lot of times we talk about maybe a party that's going to be happening and everybody getting an invitation. Well, you know what? Just by sending everyone an invitation, we're going to have a diverse group of people at that party. But if we want people to feel like they belong, what we have to do is we have to make sure they can get to the party. We have to make sure that there's food that they enjoy eating, that there's music that they enjoy listening to. It's not just enough to have representation. When we talk about inclusion, it's about really getting to know people on an individual level and then providing them what they need in order to be successful. And it's important to recognize, coaches, that not everybody who shows up to your team is necessarily going to feel that same level of inclusion as maybe other children do. And so if in your coaching, you can be really including the theme of we want to create belonging for everyone. What does it mean to be on a team? How do we show respect to each other on a team? Then chances are you're going to be finding children who are really, really kind and wonderful to each other. And that's the goal. Okay. So in your toolkit that you have, there are, or you will have access to actually, there's an activity that we've outlined that you can do with the kids on your team. It'll take 15, 20 minutes, but it's fun and it's engaging. It's about identity and it's allowing them to point out all the different parts of themselves and how they feel about themselves. And what happens is that children start to learn that they are so much more than what just you see on the outside. And that's how we want children to think, that in order to build connection, You've got to get to know people. And that's a lesson that we can learn through sport. So we hope that this is an activity that you will definitely take advantage of. But my time is up. Thank you very much for participating. Hopefully, maybe I'm in New York right now, but maybe I'll get there to a game one day and maybe we'll see each other. But have a great season, everyone. So happy to be here.
Dr. Kaplan, thank you so much. You are always welcome to join us at Oracle Park. Anytime you'd like to be there, let us know. That was
Thank you very much.
Yes, of course, really impactful in the short time that we have. We really appreciate your time and thank Rise for everything that you do for our organization. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassandra Hoffman. I'm the Program Senior Manager for the Fund. And I am so excited to be here to introduce our special guest. Please do scan the QR code for the Diversity Concepts Toolkit before we move on to introduce our special guest. You'll find a lot of resources in there that you can use all season long. All right. So now on to our special guest. We are so grateful to be joined by Giants Coach Alyssa Nakken. And just a little background on Alyssa. She made history in 2020 by becoming the first female coach in Major League Baseball. She is local. She grew up just north of the ballpark in Woodland, California, and was a standout softball player at Sacramento State University, where she earned all conference honors. And Alyssa actually joined the Giants organization in 2014 and has served in various roles before her current job as a coach on the field. And you may know her hiring as a coach marked a significant milestone for women in professional baseball and continues to inspire many aspiring females and sports professionals. So we're so proud to also say that Alyssa serves as our Junior Giants Commissioner and really believes in the program and the work you all do as volunteers and help out on the field. So thank you so much, Alyssa, for being with us tonight. We know you're very busy, and we will make sure that we are sufficient with our time here. So just to start off, what motivated you to pursue a career in baseball? And how did you transition from playing softball to coaching in Major League Baseball?
Well, first off, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of the Junior Giants organization. I think sports truly has a way to, really positively impact our world and our society. And I think right now we need that more than ever. And I think the fact that you guys are all signing up to be a part of the Junior Giants organization and impact our youth is so important. So thank you, and I'm so happy to be here. So what my desire for baseball kind of started as was I was playing softball my whole life and played in college. And if you guys aren't, I think you should tune in to the College World Series right now. It's Oklahoma, Texas softball. But I really enjoyed playing, and I played my whole life, but I was very ready to be done playing when I was a senior in college. And so I then transitioned to a role in finance for a few months and realized that I was totally missing sports. I was missing being a part of a team and just like that grind that you go through in a season. So I pursued a sport management master's degree at the University of San Francisco. And USF doesn't have a softball team. They only have a baseball team. And before classes, I would just pop into the baseball practices and I just watched. And I wasn't really watching like the talent on the field per se. I was really kind of struck by the coaches and how they went about, structuring their practice plans and how they communicated with players, and like just watching over time the skill development and the drill development. And so that's when I really was it hit me like I want to pursue like a career in this, and I was thinking it was going to remain at the college level, but I was fortunate enough to land an internship with the Giants, and I didn't know that my role existed. It wasn't until I was going through the interview process that I realized that I could take what I was doing at the college level and apply it to the professional world. So, yeah, that's kind of how I, got into baseball and what really led me to where I'm at now.
Wonderful. And being one of the first female coaches in Major League Baseball, what challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
Oof, I get in my own head way too much. So my biggest challenge is always internal. I can handle what other people say and that sort of thing. Sure, sometimes like things hurt, but there's too much to worry about in life to worry about that. So my biggest challenges honestly are just my insecurities within myself. So how I overcome them is one, I just over prepare. I try to get extremely prepared. I try to think, innings ahead within the game and just be able to kind of act on whatever I'm anticipating we're going to need to happen in the game. But it's scary because if you make a mistake, you don't want to make a mistake. And if you start to go about life like fearing making a mistake, you're going to really hinder yourself. So yeah, the way I just overcome my insecurities are honestly, I acknowledge them. I know that they're there and I understand that I'm never going to live life free, like completely free of insecurities. And I've just learned and I'm constantly learning how to flow through life with these sort of feelings kind of constantly around. But the preparation is the key to kind of getting me through it and working through it and really allowing myself to take steps farther in my career and in more in believing in myself.
Definitely. Well, I think you say a lot of things that resonate with a lot of people, especially as our coaches and volunteers on this call will jump into the field. Many of them have not coached before or have little experience. So being prepared is definitely key. And as you know, Junior Giants focuses on creating a fun and safe environment where all players feel welcome. So I'm curious, how do you approach building a positive team culture and fostering teamwork among the players you work with?
I think what's really important is to go about coaching in not a cookie cutter way. So all of your players are coming from wildly different backgrounds. They all have different experiences. They're probably different ages, different cultures. And I think it's really important as a coach to learn your players inside and out. Of course, you're going to know like what they can and cannot yet do on the field. But I think what's important is you get to know them as a person and you get to know them and the type of learners they are. And I think when you do that, when you really take the time to deep dive into getting to know your players, the players see that you care. And once a player can see that you care, they're going to open up a lot more. They're going to trust you a lot more. And that leads to being able to hold them accountable. So as you go on in the season, and, I don't know how competitive the games are going to be or the season is going to be, but as you all kind of continue your coaching careers, you're going to get into some pretty competitive environments. And there are going to be times where you're going to have to hold your players accountable. So if you've built the foundation of trust, respect, mutual respect between your players and you, then when there comes a time you need to hold them accountable, it's going to really land when you're asking them to do something they might not want to do. And I think that's, of course, like that's hard, but I don't think, of course we want a fun and welcoming environment, but I think with that comes like some of the hard stuff and being able to hold people accountable. It can't all just be like, like patting each other on the back, we can do this, but more of like, let's challenge each other to see just how far we can go and how good we can go. And it might not be just on the field, but you're going to run into so many different personalities. And I think what's important as coaches is, yes, we want to build the best product we can on the field, but it's also our responsibility to impact our players to go off the field and be contributing members to society. So I think that's where you have to be able to challenge your players but you can't just come at them with these challenges and not yet build the trust. The trust and respect has to come first. And I think the way you do that is you really deep dive and take time to get to know your players, get to know their learning styles, because they're going to be different, and get to know where they've come from. They're going to teach you a lot too.
Awesome. That's wonderful advice. And I'm sure that's something that you are constantly working on. I would imagine that's a big task with the Major League Baseball team. So
Yes.
thank you for sharing that. I know we are right at time, but I invite you, if there's one last sentiment you'd like to leave with our coaches and volunteers, definitely would love to hear that from you.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you again for being a part of the Junior Giants organization. I saw like some of in the chat, some of the questions, like one was, what kind of tips do you have for coaches? And it kind of alluded to the last one. But I think when it comes down to it, like, I'm sure a lot of you played youth sports. So when I was, preparing for coming on here tonight, I was thinking about my time as, a 10, 11, 12-year-old. And back then, I just really wanted to be having fun. I wanted to have a lot of fun at my practices and in the games. And every single night that I got home from a practice, my parents would ask, "Did you have fun? What did you learn?" And so I think that's really important as you guys go about, preparing for your practices or your games is, of course, we're going to create the fun environment, but also give them something that they can take home to their family and answer the question that they're going to get. Hey, what did you learn today? I think that's really important. And I was just reflecting on that today and thinking back to all of the coaches that I had in youth sports and all of the various things that I learned from them. So I really thank you guys for being a part of this. I think coaches really have the power to create positive change and impact in the world. And I'm excited for you guys in this season.
Awesome. Thank you, Alyssa. It's true. All the small moments really do add up. So even just a high five at the end of the day can go a long way. So thank you so much for all your time, for all your support of our Junior Giants program. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, guys.
And with that, we will close out our session today. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. We are really grateful for your time, not only tonight, but for the coming season. You really are the heartbeat of the program. So make sure that you feel prepared, that you can download the Junior Giants app to start your coach certification. Make sure you review your practice plans. We have it all written out for you. So you can jump in on that first day feeling confident and ready to go. And please make sure to attend your league's volunteer meeting and coaches clinic if you haven't yet. And if by chance you are not signed up to volunteer, or someone who may want to volunteer for the program, you can scan the QR code and register. We are always looking for volunteers. There's never enough, and every team could use the support. So thank you all so much, and we will see you out on the field. Take care.